Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Baton Rouge. Hanny time. Hanny time. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Hannegriff.
And a pleasant good afternoon. Welcome to Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff, Mario Jerez, Taylor Sharp with you. Doug Thompson here in about 15 minutes. Color analyst, LSU Sports Radio Network. Former LSU pitcher. If you have an LSU man cave, his picture's probably been hanging in your home for quite some time or your sports bar. Doug will talk with us. The season opener is tomorrow and has been moved up time-wise to 3 o'clock because it's supposed to be cold tomorrow night. Really, really, really cold tomorrow night. So you're going to get opening afternoon instead of opening night. You want to know, I don't know who, how they came to this decision or who made the final decision over at LSU to do this. I do want to know where they were 20 years ago when Long Beach State came in here and it was 29 degrees at first pitch and we played and we announced and we umpired and we cheered from the stands on the coldest day in the history of the stadium as far as anybody knew. I want to know where these decision makers were that day. I could have used them, Mike Weathers, the Long Beach coach, in a very famous statement said, we came all the way from California. If it's not snowing, we're playing. And so we played and we froze. His shortstop came out for infield in short sleeves. Macho guy. Turned his ass around pretty quick, went back to the dugout to get him a long sleeve shirt. And of course that game went to extra innings. Like that wasn't predictable from the get-go. 11th inning. Matt Heath, God bless him, who I have not seen in 20 years probably, hit a home run to put the Tigers in the win column that day. But I digress. Anyway, 3 o'clock tomorrow. Doug's with us in about 15 minutes. Long Beach State hadn't been back here since, by the way. I don't think that's any coincidence. Bottom of the hour, Schmidt duo from Boot Crew Media. We're going to talk about the Pels. An interesting release coming in the NBA. Probably sometime this afternoon of Kevin Love with the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll talk with Schmidt about that. But we start with the Lakers win last night. A lot of interest in basketball last night, a lot of compelling basketball, pro and college. And I'll tell you what a lot of this meant to me anyway. The Lakers beat the Pels last night 120-102. This was pretty much 88 and out the gate. Lakers took an 8-0 lead. I think it was a 12-2 lead. Pels made a little mini run at him in the middle of the game in the second quarter especially, but Los Angeles was in control of this game the entire way. And what was really, we talked about this game yesterday, how it maybe felt like it meant a little bit more given the logjam in the standings in the Western Conference, given the fact that it was the last game before the All-Star break and you got to stew on whatever the outcome was for the next 5-6 days. But it was also because it was the Lakers. And the most upsetting thing if you're a Pels fan, I'm not going to tell you how to feel. As somebody who wants the Pelicans to do well, I will tell you what upset me the most last night was not that the Pelicans lost. It was that the Lakers won. And it was that the Lakers looked good doing it. Trade deadline came and went. Pels made a small move. Josh Richardson's a nice player. But the Lakers made a major move, actually a couple of them. And D'Angelo Russell in the lineup last night, Jared Vanderbilt in the lineup last night, Malik Beasley in the lineup last night. You saw a definite difference I watched the Lakers probably a dozen times, maybe more this year for at least a half, but because they're always on television. That looked the best that Los Angeles has looked all year. They actually looked like a cohesive unit. They looked like they had pieces in place who everybody knew their roles, which is surprising because this team, as it's configured right now, has been together for all of 20 minutes. And so LeBron James played a normal amount of minutes. Anthony Davis played a normal amount of minutes. They played fantastic on the offensive glass last night. On the defensive glass last night. And, when you've got a team that is so very much tied to New Orleans' immediate and long-term future, the last thing you want to do is see them improve themselves. They traded away Russell Westbrook, who's a dynamite player, but just didn't fit there, whatever reason. And they bring in D'Angelo Russell, who was drafted by the Lakers what seems like 700 years ago, but he's only 26 years old. They ran him out of town the first time. He went on his little tour, spent a little time in Brooklyn, spent a little time in Minnesota, and now he's back and is a mature player and looks like, at least last night, exactly what they needed. They need a three-point. They wanted another three-point shooter. Malik Beasley was only 2 out of 7 last night, but it appeared like he fit in, got some good looks on some shots that he missed. Vanderbilt was in the starting lineup last night. He had, I want to say it was something like 3 or 4 rebounds in the first, 7 minutes or so of the game. And it allowed Davis and James to do what Davis and James do when they're on the court. Even Mo Bamba, who they, made a little minor deal for, came in and just absolutely jackhammered a ball in off of an inbounds play. No, the Lakers looked to me like a team that when they get if they get into the playoffs, and they got to hustle a little bit, but they got a good chance to at least get into the play-in, if not the playoff. There's not that many games left, but there's not that many games separating the teams either. Look like one of those teams that gets in, and if they end up being the 7 or 8 seed, the number 1 or 2 seed goes, oh bleep. Ain't who I want to see. Not if they got, 20 games to gel with what I saw last night. Gross. So here before the trade deadline, or at the trade deadline, you have the Pelicans getting worse. Not through necessarily their own fault, but Zion left. And we don't expect Zion back anytime soon. So the Pelicans got worse and the Lakers got better. Of all the nightmares, this was right at the top of the list. Willie Green on the loss to the Lakers.
We just didn't play with a sense of urgency, and those are my end-of-game comments to our team. Is we have to play with more force, have a level of sense of urgency that on both ends of the floor that we just didn't have tonight. The three main buckets for us against this team was their transition defense, which they beat us, getting to the free throw line, which they beat us, and points in the paint. So not a great effort on our part.
I don't know why no sense of urgency, and obviously, he doesn't either. And that's not an indictment on Willie Green. Sometimes teams just come out and, it's not there. Maybe a little case of senioritis. They all had one foot out the door for the All-Star break. I don't know. But whatever it was, they got thumped pretty good last night, and by the last team that you want to get thumped by. We'll talk with Schmidt a little bit later on in the show today about what the state of the Pelicans is here at the All-Star break, which is well past the halfway point of the season, obviously, but it's coming up this weekend, and the possibilities of Kevin Love. If you missed the news this morning, Cavaliers are in the process of buying out Kevin Love. He is fallen out of their rotation. Cleveland's playing really well. They weren't going to. There were no minutes for him in the games that he played before. They pretty much took him out of the rotation. He was averaging 8.5 and 7. He's only 34 years old. It seems like he's been in the league, since Moses Malone was playing. But he's still 34 years old. He's still capable of being a productive guy. He's hurt all the time, so he'll fit right in. But I think there's going to be a lot of suitors for a veteran like Kevin Love. Probably a long shot, but we'll get Schmidt's thoughts on that. College basketball last night. Tennessee got that one right. Sense of urgency. There was a sense of urgency for Tennessee last night. You come out and you play Alabama. You shoot 37% from the floor, 26% from three, and you win. Kind of going away a little bit. Tennessee really, they seized control. They had a 7-0 run about 7 minutes in to the second half, and they maintained that lead. Really kind of kept Alabama at arm's length. Alabama, good as they are most of the time, they are capable of having just really bad shooting nights, and last night was well below what they usually shoot. And, of course, Tennessee's defense had a lot to do with that. They shoot They shoot 35 and 38%. I thought that Tennessee, coming off those two buzzer-beating losses, was going to play motivated last night. They certainly did. So the game of the year in the Southeastern Conference, two best teams in the Southeastern Conference, was really good. It was tied at the half. It was a back-and-forth game for the first 6-7 minutes of the second half. Tennessee went on a spurt and then kind of held them off. Terrific game last night, and Tennessee gets a win. Couple other games as we're getting closer to to Selection Sunday, so we're gonna start to take a look at some of the games that really mean something. I'll give you two nationally. Marquette beat Xavier in a game that Xavier led most of the way yesterday, at least much of the way. Marquette wins that game. Shaka Smart leaves Texas, ends up at Marquette. They are now leading the Big East with that win last night. A terrific finish there, and an even more improbable finish at Northwestern last night in Evanston, where number 14 Indiana got a steal and a little lay-in with about 30 seconds to go to tie the game. Northwestern goes the length of the floor, and Boo Buie, who is one of the really exciting players in the country, if you haven't seen Northwestern play, this is the most ranked teams they have ever beaten in the history of the program. They've got four top wins over top 20 teams. They've never done that before. And Bowie is a really exciting player. He goes 30 seconds, shot clock and the game clock are almost simultaneous. Bowie comes up, dribbles until there's about 7 seconds to go, and then he goes to the goal and pushed off. But he got away with it. They get the bucket, and they get home last night. I hope you watch those. The other games in the Southeastern Conference, we thought Kentucky was in a real precarious position last night, in need of another quality win. Wildcats were on the outside of bracketology looking in before last night. Lenardi said after the game last night that the Cats are back in. Very hard-fought game, controversial call on a no call on a travel with about 25 seconds to go or so on Mississippi State. I thought Chris Jans was going to lose his mind. Chris Jans, you don't even have to be a lip reader or a professional lip reader to know what he said. He said as many bad words to a referee as you can ever say and not get a technical. And the reason was he was right. But the officials didn't team up because I think the officials knew they missed the call. It cost Mississippi State a chance at the win last night. Kentucky gets that win. They're back in the field of 68, according to Joe Lenardi right now. And Arkansas and A&M, another really competitive game. Arkansas had a lead by 9 at the half. A&M erased that in the first 4 minutes of the second half, and then it was kind of back and forth until A&M got control late. A&M has opened up a little bit of breathing room on their NCAA tournament hopes. They were, according to Lenardi, they were a 10 seed going into this thing, but A&M had put themselves in a hole at the beginning of the season. They lost 5 non-conference games, including games to Murray State and Wofford, so they had to make up some ground. They're now 11-2 in the Southeastern Conference. They get a good win against Arkansas last night, and I hope you didn't watch any of Fresno State and San Diego State. I didn't. I just had to glance at the score today because when a game ends up 45-43, you go, how the hell did that happen? So I looked at it. Fresno State shot 2 for 25 from three-point range, 8%. So if you're thinking that LSU's the worst shooting team in the country, well, at least last night they weren't. Big game for the LSU women's team tonight. They play Ole Miss. Ole Miss 9-3 in the lead. They got a 27 net. So big game for Kim Mulkey and her crew to bounce back from the loss at South Carolina. We'll take a break. Doug Thompson when we come back. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls, Bands, and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne. Plus two-time PBR World Champion Chris Shivers. And Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th. Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. The #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge to learn CPR. Be the beat for someone you love. You can make a difference when it matters most. Go to heart.org today to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience.
On Friday's OTB, opening day is finally here, and we'll break it down. What are you expecting out of this LSU baseball team? Plus, hear from LSU head softball coach Beth Torina off the bench. 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, Doug's had to step away here for just a second, but we will tell you that Jay Johnson is meeting with the media right now. Just a little media gathering before the first series of the season. So he did announce his weekend rotation. Paul Skeens is going to go tomorrow afternoon. Now, this is pretty much been common knowledge since media days. He more or less announced this. So Skeens, if you haven't seen him yet, you're going to really enjoy watching him pitch. I got to see him pitch a little bit in the fall. Actually, I got to see him pitch if you were really watching close. He pitched here with Air Force a couple of years ago. But Skeens, 6'6", probably 245, 250 pounds, is going to bring a massive fastball and one of the nastiest sliders that you're going to see. He'll start tomorrow night. It'll be Riley Cooper on Saturday. Jay Johnson said he wanted to get the left-hander in there. Cooper is their most experienced left-hander that they've got. And Chase Shores, another very big player, 6'8" freshman, will get the start on Sunday. So we'll see we'll see one of the transfers, we'll see one of the freshmen, and we'll see the veteran lefty here on the first weekend. Shores was the number one pitcher in Texas for last year's class. All right, Doug Thompson joins us now, ready to go for the opener tomorrow now afternoon at 3 o'clock. Doug, good afternoon. How you doing?
Hey, Charlie, doing good. Looking forward to some LSU baseball, man.
All right, I know you've been doing your studying, you're getting ready for for this season. So, what are you most anxious to see? What are the biggest questions you have going into this season?
I can't wait to see the offense. I mean, we've heard a lot about it. On paper, it looks like, a championship team in terms of the offensive firepower. And the other thing I'm very curious about that I've heard, a lot about is the depth of the pitching staff. Can't wait to see it.
All right, well, let's talk. Your pitching is where you made your living. So let's talk about Paul Skeens to open this thing up. We've heard nothing but good things. I got a chance to watch him pitch in the fall. We've seen him pitch a little bit in the scrimmage work. He's got everything you need to be a number one guy. When you watch him, what do you see?
Well, I mean, he's an alpha. I mean, he's 97 to 99 miles an hour with a curveball and a changeup. He can throw for strikes. He can run his fastball. He can cut it. He's 6'6" plus. He's already kind of filling the role of one of the leaders on the team. That says something coming from another program in your first year. And I mean, Charlie, he's so good. There's been certain scrimmages where they've had to put runners on base just so he can get a little work with first and third defenses and bunt coverages and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that comes along once every 5, 6, 7 years that looks like he has a chance to run the table, just on paper with the stuff that he's got. And then what he's done in the fall. I mean, from what I understand, no one's even really been close.
Doug, what's he going to learn here as the Friday night guy? You know a little something about this. It's different than taking the ball on other days in an SEC weekend. I know we're a few weeks away from that, but taking the ball on opening night, taking the ball on that Friday night, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, he's going to learn how to pitch with a lot more adrenaline, I suppose, than he's ever had before, and deal with that emotion. I mean, there's times I can remember, having to step off the back of the mound, catch my breath, just being, maybe, too emotional at that moment or too fired up at that moment. But that's a big part of it is to learn how to control all of those emotions and get through 5 or 6 innings. But I'm excited. I mean, I don't think it's going to make him, any worse. I think he's going to thrive in that situation. And I'm really excited to watch him pitch tomorrow.
Shores is another guy that most people haven't seen because he's a freshman. So unless you're going out there for some of the practices, but he's even bigger than Skeens, and and he can bring in. I haven't had a chance to see him pitch in the spring yet. In the pre season here. But what have you seen when you talked about Chase Shores?
Well, I know that he hit triple digits a couple times the other day in an inter squad, and he's a big old kid, 6'8", I think, potential top pick in the draft in 3 years, which is the best news that we get him here in Baton Rouge for 3 years. And I love the opportunity for him early in the season to try to, hopefully he gets some starts. And gets that early experience as a freshman, because I think that's one of the big things that allows you to be successful as a junior. Is the innings pitch, your time on the mound, and the earlier the better. And if he can get it done, then why not keep him out there? It's just such a great program builder to have a kid come in his sophomore year that's got 10, 15 starts under his belt.
I want to talk to you a little bit about the progress made by some guys that are returning that have pitched, when you look at it, an awful lot of SEC innings, guys like Ty Floyd and Blake Money and Riley Cooper last year, of course, for sure. Garrett Edwards is another guy that of late has started to make some noise. just to give me your thoughts on their progression, because these guys had to pitch a lot, and in some cases, some of them before maybe they really were ready, but they got thrown in there, and now they're experienced upperclassmen.
Yeah, it's going to pay off. I mean, all of those innings that they got, and I agree, some of them might have had to, go out there and try to get some outs a little too early. But it's certainly going to make them better down the long run. And I think all of those names you just mentioned have a good chance to, be a factor this year. The depth of the pitching staff is the one thing, talking to Coach Johnson, talking to Coach Burtman, and all the others that are surrounding the program. The depth of the pitching staff is what makes this team a little more unique, maybe even than some of the championship teams of the program in the past. I think that lineup is going to be very similar to the national championship teams. I think there's some big leaguers in there, the whole bit. I think they're going to hit a bunch of home runs. I think they'll hit high, have a high average. They'll probably score a lot of runs a game. But what we haven't seen in a while is 9 or 10 kids, in fact, maybe ever, 9 or 10 kids that can go out there and get outs in the SEC. That's really not been something that we've seen here in Baton Rouge. We've seen some other teams, especially recently. Florida, of course, in the 2017 year had a bunch of big leagues arms. Vanderbilt with Rocker and Leiter. But we're gonna see that, I think, from this year's pitching staff, and that's what I would say of all things I'm most curious to see and most excited to watch is the big arms coming out of just nonstop out of the bullpen.
You talked about the offense. You might be able to give a pointer or two. You pitched for two teams here that, if memory serves correct, hit a little bit. You had some offense behind you, so there were times where you said, "Listen, I don't have to be perfect here today. They're going to score some runs for me."
Well, it's about having thick skin. Sometimes it's the runs don't come in the timing that you'd like. Of course, you'd like to go out there and get 6 runs in the first inning. But for me, I was very confident in our run production. And it was always about just continuing to grind and not getting too caught up in the scoreboard. And, knowing that you're going to have a rough inning or two, those other guys could hit too back in those days in the SEC. It's not like the conference is any worse today or worse back then than it is today. So, that's a big part of it is being patient out there and wait for those big bats to come around. Sometimes it might take a time or two through the lineup for the bats to get moving. But with this team, I would expect to see the runs start a little bit earlier than we maybe been used to in the last couple of years.
Last question. I don't know if you had a chance to talk to Jay Johnson yesterday or today, but he just announced his starting rotation. Riley Cooper is going to go 2, and Chase Shores is going to go 3. Thatcher Hurd is not in that opening weekend rotation, and I don't know if they've gotten to ask him this yet, but the immediate speculation is that they're setting him up to pitch a week from Tuesday against Texas. So I'm not sure, positive that's the case, but that may be the case. It's kind of an odd midweek game at Texas coming off that tournament in Round Rock. What have you seen out of Thatcher Hurd?
Well, I know that he's polished. He's got good command of 3 pitches. He's, a big kid. He's got some experience under his belt. And I do know that Coach Johnson's trying to set up maybe even developing 5 starting pitchers here early in the season with the starter going on Tuesday and then, the following Tuesday with Thatcher Hurd. I think Riley Cooper is an interesting decision for that 2 slot, but I tell you, Jay has a lot of trust in that guy. And last year he proved that he could get the job done. So I think that's more about experience and trust from the head coach, kind of knowing what he's going to get out of Riley Cooper. But I love the fact that we're going to try to identify 4 or 5 starters because, Charlie, you've seen all the postseasons that I've watched over the years, and it always seems like you need that start out of nowhere from a guy who maybe hasn't had that many opportunities all year. And, what a boost it would be for us to actually have 4 or 5 guys to go to in that starting rotation.
Doesn't hurt that Cooper's left-handed and rubber-armed.
Exactly.
He throws from the left side. He throws strikes, and he throws a lot.
That doesn't hurt either. That's right. That's right. He's prepared for it. He's gonna do fine in that spot.
Doug, we're looking forward to hearing you on the call, and I'm sure we'll visit again real soon. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, Charlie. Good talking to you, and I'll see you at the box maybe.
Absolutely. Doug Thompson on the LSU Radio Network. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Schmidt Dua talks Pels with us from Boot Crew Media. That's next. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Big Mike's with the music lineup set for here your Mardi Gras weekend. Tonight, Billy Harris on stage. Plus, they'll have some Swamp Pop jitterbug lessons. You want to get out, get a little jitterbug going. They got the Swamp Pop lessons tonight. Tomorrow, Ernest Scott on stage. And on Saturday, it's the Spanish Town after party with DJ K-Jack. Saturday afternoon into the night at Big Mike's. Hot ball crawfish every day coming out at 11 o'clock. Monday nights, all you can eat boiled shrimp, plus happy hour drink specials from 3 until 7 during the week and all day on Sunday. Big Mike's for your eats, for your drinks, for your parties, for your family meals. Great place right here in the heart of Denham Springs. On Aspen Boulevard at Big Mike's, we're kind of a big deal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on select new 2022 Ford F-150 trucks. $10,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting with a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital.
Hey, it's join me 1 to 3 on Thursday. I give you my final prediction for this LSU baseball season. And we'll look at SEC hardwood action between Alabama and Tennessee. Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com. Joining us now from Boot Crew Media, covering the New Orleans Pelicans, Schmidt Dua. Schmidt, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, good afternoon. I'm doing well. I'm excited for this Mardi Gras festivities to kick off with music tonight.
That's right. You're down in New Orleans, so you get to take a few days away from Isn't it nice that the All-Star break kind of lined up with Mardi Gras? That was convenient for people that cover the Pels and live in New Orleans, right?
Extremely convenient. They've had games in the past that have like overlapped with Endymion, or they've overlapped with some of the other major stuff, and it becomes kind of a headache because honestly, like I think basketball is really fun, but Mardi Gras might be a little bit more fun.
Yeah, it does create a little bit of a logjam in the city when everything's going on at the same time. Schmidt, I would have loved had the Pels going into the break, the All-Star break, on a positive note, but it's tough to pull anything too much positive from last night. Watching that game, I wasn't as disappointed in the Pels' effort as I was in how good the new-look Lakers looked. So what did you think of Los Angeles now that they made these trade deadline moves with what you saw last night?
Yeah, Los Angeles was under a lot of pressure from LeBron, just internally to make these kind of improvements. They didn't have very much shooting on their roster prior to the trade deadline, and they went out and they addressed their biggest needs. They added players that are meaningfully better than the players that they sent out. So it's still a tall task for LA to climb their way back into the playoffs. They're, the several games under 500, and at this point in the season, it's tough to make up that kind of ground. But last night was kind of an example of what they might be capable of doing if they're gelling. But it was one of those games where the Pelicans really needed to win, both from a keeping the Lakers at bay in the standings race perspective, and also furthering their draft odds in the draft lottery should the Lakers not make the playoffs. And it just an opportunity missed there.
I know that one of the big concerns is where the offense is going to come from, because Zion is not coming back anytime soon. And you've talked about a number of different scenarios, a number of different things that Willie Green and his staff have tried. Where do you think the offense is going to come from?
The offense, it has to come from a collective group of players on the team. It can't just be what it has been recently, which is Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum just kind of taking turns, your turn, my turn, to isolate and go into a tough shot. That's just not a style of basketball that the rest of the team enjoys playing and produces good results on the court. They have to get the ball moving. They have to get the players moving. They're just not playing with the joy that they had, like before Zion went down. And part of that is Zion just being that magnetic force that he is, being able, like on the court, off the court, and that's contagious. But part of that is I just think this team is, and I think it's like the responsibilities on the coaching staff more so than the team. They've taken a step back from where they were at this point last year. I mean, this is the same roster they had last year that made their way into the playoffs. Their starting group last year had a really good offensive output, and this year it's just been dreadful. They have to go back to the drawing board. They have to get other players involved. They have to involve their big men. Just more efficient players should get a higher offensive usage because those are good players. They make good shots.
With 2 games into Josh Richardson's tenure here with the Pelicans, what are your thoughts about how they have worked him into the rotation and what adjustments they might make with a few days over the All-Star break to think about it?
I think first and foremost, Josh Richardson has been extremely good for them, just even in this limited sample size. You can see what he brings to the table with his defensive tenacity, his ability to force turnovers, and he can do some stuff on offense as well. He's not a one-trick pony just on the defensive end. I think that's been really, really important for the Pels to add to their teams, and specifically with who they traded out. And what's been a little bit concerning to me is that, game 1, he played 37 minutes. He played the most minutes on the team. Game 2, he was on pace for playing as many minutes as well. And, he unfortunately got ejected due to a terrible call from the referees. But it's one of those things where I think like the coaching staff and Willie Green have found their type of player, the type of player they cherish, which is this like defensively hard-nosed wing that can sometimes do things on offense, but now they're going to try to use him wherever possible, whenever possible. And problem is, most likely Josh Richardson's only going to be on the team for 2 months. And that kind of usage, he's a very good role player. You shouldn't be extending him beyond his role. You should play him in the role that he's good at. B, it shouldn't come at the expense of some of the other players, particularly the offensive players like Trey Murphy. Kyra Lewis didn't get any minutes last night, and he's been pretty good in the minutes that he's gotten. So, like, that kind of stuff is something to watch for. I do think Josh Richardson is going to help the Pelicans win games, but they do have to keep one eye on the future as well and see if they can squeeze minutes from maybe some of the other players rather than the ones that they should be trying to develop.
Schmidt Dewey is our guest from Boot Crew Media. Earlier this week, Mark Spears had a report after spending some time with C.J. McCollum that not just is the ankle, which has been bothering him. He did play full-time last night, but that also his thumb has been bothering him, something that may require surgery in the offseason. How concerned are you about C.J. McCollum's health after the All-Star break?
He's just been banged up all year. From the beginning of the year, he was dealing with a finger issue, then he got sick, he got COVID. He's had multiple illnesses, actually. And so he's been kind of fighting through whatever that he's been going through, and I think that's contributed to some of his play. But he's still, credit to him, he's found a way to be productive in most of the games that he's played. Sure, every once in a while, like, there'll be an inefficient night, but for the most part, CJ's been a steady hand. He's been consistent. So I don't think that consistency is really going to fall off moving past the All-Star break. That these few days will give him an opportunity to rest. He said he pulled out of the three-point contest for that reason specifically. So I'm sure he's going to enjoy that time off as well. But knock on wood, nothing worse comes out of this.
Reports this morning that the Cleveland Cavaliers negotiating a buyout with Kevin Love. He had fallen out of their rotation. It seems like he's been in the league forever, but he's still only 34 years old and a guy with extensive playoff experience. So he was averaging 8.5 and right at 7 before he was dumped out of the rotation. Cleveland's playing pretty well. There's going to be a lot of playoff teams that would love to add him essentially for free here for the last 24 games of the regular season and in the playoffs. I'll just ask, I'm sure it's a long shot, but is New Orleans a player here, and if not, where?
I have no idea if New Orleans is a player here, but you have to look at Kevin Love's prior relationship with David Griffin. David Griffin aggressively traded the first overall pick in Andrew Wiggins to Minnesota to go get Kevin Love, and they won a championship together. He has a really good relationship with Larry Nance Jr. As well. They were teammates in Cleveland. So, I think there's connections there. I think there's history there. Whether that's enough for them to, secure his services, I don't know. It would probably have to depend on the role that he's being offered and what, Kevin sees as his chance to contend, right? If the Pelicans are just mediocre and he doesn't have a lot of minutes given to him, then there's not really a huge basketball reason for him to come here. But I wouldn't say like they are out of the running. I certainly would think that he's a good fit. His shooting is something the Pelicans need desperately. He's a really good rebounder. That's something the Pelicans have struggled with when they go small. And he's a really good passer. And especially off of rebounds, his outlet passes are some of the best in the game. And I think those type of things can really add some juice to their offense for, as you said, the next 24 games.
Play along with me here for a second, because one of the teams that is rumored to be, right there at the forefront to land him, and I'm not suggesting that Kevin Love coming to New Orleans would vault him into championship status or anything like that, but he's an experienced player. He's a good player. Is the Miami Heat. Miami has got roughly the same record as New Orleans. They're in roughly the same spot in the standings as New Orleans, although they're in the East, which is at this point a little bit less crowded than the West. If you're Kevin Love and you say, well, if I go down there and they get Zion back, maybe there is an opportunity there. So Miami was one of the other teams I've heard. I'm sure there'll be others that are inquiring. If you had to pick between the Heat and the Pels right now, what do you pick?
Look, if I'm a multimillionaire, the idea of going to a state with no state income tax and living in Miami is certainly very, very appealing. And I say that as a New Orleanian native, as a local, and it has nothing to do with New Orleans, the city, or anything. But like that no state income tax, if you're just going to get the same veteran minimum contract from either team, your money's going to spend a little more when you go down to Florida and that income tax doesn't hit. And, being in South Beach isn't a bad place either.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's got his money. He's got his rings. He's 34 years old. He's in relatively good health he's missed a lot of time over the course of his career, but right this second, he could literally go anywhere. He's not chasing a ring. He's not chasing the next contract. And he's a free agent, so there's not a trade holdup or anything like that. He's got a lot of options. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure it's a long shot that he ends up in New Orleans. But I thought I would ask, Schmidt. We got 5 or 6 days here before we get another basketball game. So I thought I would ask. Maybe
I would love it. I've wanted Kevin Love on this team for quite some time, and I think that's even going back to the Anthony Davis era. I thought those two would be a really good fit together, and so I enjoy Kevin Love as a person. The stuff that he's written about, the fact that he's discussed his mental health issues in a very public stance. All that's been great, and I wish him the best luck in his career, and I do hope he ends up in a Pelicans uniform. That would be fantastic to watch.
Yeah, he would have been a lot more expensive back when Anthony Davis was here. Right now, the guys are going to laugh at me when I say this, but essentially if you can convince him to come here, he's essentially free. You're not trading draft choices. You're not going long-term contract. He essentially comes in for whatever he makes the rest of this season, but again, it's probably a long shot. Schmidt, enjoy Mardi Gras and the All-Star break, and get a little relaxation time, and we'll be talking with you when we kick back up next week.
Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.
All right, Schmidt Dua from Boot Crew Media. We'll take a break, come back, and wrap things up here. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge with the Sell Your Car program. At Infinity of Baton Rouge, you want to buy your vehicle right off the street from customers. It's easy to get an offer from Infinity, whether you're looking to sell it to Infinity of Baton Rouge, whether you want to trade it in on another vehicle or you just want to find out what it is worth. It is less than 15 minutes to get a quote. No pressure then to buy. When you get into the certified pre-owned programs, a lot of benefits. First of all, the vehicle's been through a rigorous inspection. It's back up to code, so much so that they're going to give you a 6-year unlimited mile warranty for those vehicles that pass inspection and get into the certified pre-owned program. 1 full year of prepaid maintenance, roadside assistance, invaluable for your older drivers, your younger drivers, and of course your courtesy cars when you're able to bring it in for maintenance. You don't have to wait around for it or arrange for transportation. Transparency in pricing, that's why we continue to trust and do our shopping at Infinity of Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring. Wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge to learn CPR. Be the beat for someone you love. You can make a difference when it matters most. Go to heart.org today to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial...
It's Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. LSU baseball, 1 day away from the opener. Jay Johnson meets with the media, and the Pels head into the All-Star break. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Be at at Walk-Ons tonight for Jimmy Ott's Game Time. We'll be going back and forth between Walk-Ons and Jolie Pearl during LSU baseball season. So we'll be at Walk-Ons tonight. Tomorrow afternoon now, the LSU season opener. You got 3 o'clock in the afternoon because of the inclement weather. So you can go straight from the ballpark to we got parades in town, right? Got parades tomorrow night. Was tomorrow? South Downs, I think, and then Spanish Town on Saturday. You guys not parade goers? No.
Nah, not here. I'm heading down to NOLA. Heading down to NOLA for Endymion on Saturday, which I'm pumped about, but not today.
Okay, all right. So we got a little bit nasty weather on the way here, or at least colder weather here for the next couple of days. Anyway, on the show tonight, we got a couple of interesting matchups tonight. The former number 1 team in the country, Purdue, is going to Maryland tonight. Purdue has really struggled on the road. They've lost 2 on the road, and even the wins in the Big Ten, except for the win against Minnesota, which Minnesota was absolutely awful. Has been awful all season. They've struggled on the road, but they are a 1-point favorite tonight against Maryland, and I'm thinking maybe the Turtles tonight against Purdue. They're only catching 1 point, but Purdue has had an awfully difficult go of it on the road here. Well, really through the entire Big Ten season. They lost at Northwestern. Northwestern, we told you, another big win last night. They lost at Indiana. They nipped Michigan, who's just kind of a middle-of-the-road team, nipped Michigan State, middle-of-the-road team. They blew out Minnesota, like I said, that doesn't really matter. And they nipped Ohio State, who's not really all that good. So if you're looking for a play tonight, Maryland might fit the bill. Then the other one that kind of like a little bit tonight is Iowa. Iowa at home has been an absolute wrecking machine, and this has been a really tough go most of the season for Ohio State. So when Iowa has gotten home, they've scored plenty of points. They've been very, very difficult to beat. They're a different team on the road, but if you look back at Iowa's last handful of games, a 14-point win against a good Maryland team, a 11-point win against a good Rutgers team, a 16-point win against a good Northwestern team. They did have to survive against Illinois, but that's and a 2-point win against Indiana at home back to open their home season in the Big Ten. So we're looking for 2 picks tonight. We're going Maryland at home against Purdue, catching a point. And we're going to lay it's a little bit more than I'm than I would usually lay. But we're going to take Iowa minus the 7.5 tonight against Ohio State, who has really struggled, just 1 win in their last 8. Hunt Palmer is coming your way next. Join us again tonight at Walk-Ons, tomorrow at Ruffino's. We will start up at 10 o'clock in the morning. We start early on Fridays. For Taylor Sharp, from Mario Jerez, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. This has been Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall. You better get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up. You witnessing a champ in the making, fueled by your passion for greatness. Yeah, but adversity and bad situations meet us in the middle of the paths that we taking. But it's what you do after that makes men. Will you quit or will you stand up and face it? Tell me, do you have what it takes to swing back when this life asks for the fade? Can you tell me you'll adapt to the